The following program has had shockingly little input from any women, minorities, or disabled people. Nobody to temper the crazy musings of an old white man. That is precisely why viewers' discretion is advised. Oh, is it wrong, Mike? Is it wrong, Mike? Is it wrong, Mike? That's what I need to. Now I need to check that. Let me see. I think it's good. Yeah, I think this is good. I think this is good enough. This sounds right. All right. All right. 7 minutes and 33 seconds. There's no rumble. There is now. Okay, so this is a fair point that Nathan is saying. This is what I want to explain to you. Okay, I want to explain to you. Nathan made a really good point. He's like, you need to start reading chat. He's correct. But you see, this is what I want to explain to you. What happens is this. I'm going to share something with you here. I'm going to share my screen with you for a moment. So you all can see why it is that in the early part of the show, I don't see chat. Because I literally see nothing. During the very start of chat. Why do I have this frog in my throat? It's very annoying. You're going to see, I'm going to take share screen. How do I do this in a way that you'll see? You're not going to see 4,000 in there. That's not good. Okay. Oh Lord, that's very annoying. See over here on the left side? That there on the left side is, I can make it bigger so you can see even more. But you see over here on the left side, I think if I bring it in, you're going to see like a lot of, yeah, it's going to be annoying. So I don't want to do that. Okay. My Rumble should not be on loop. Rumble should be good. Refresh it. Rumble should be good. It shows that I'm playing well in Rumble. So when I start my show, so I have a whole bunch of intros that I've uploaded into StreamYard. So I come down to my branding and I have here all my different uploads. So what I'll do is I'll hit over here. This button is start stream and you hit start and then you confirm. And then I scroll down here and I pick from which one of these I want to play. So I'll just, I'll basically, depending on my mood or whatever, so I'll just start playing one. Right? So tonight's program features a host. See, like it just starts playing the intro. When the intro finishes, I jump in. But I'm still over here on this screen of branding rather than being over here in comments. So when I jump in, I just start, boom, hitting my show and doing my show. You see right now, I don't see any comments. Instead, I see branding and video clips that I have here. And I'll just start doing my intro and just start, boom, jump in. Because I like that better than looking around like a goldfish. I don't like that. So that's why I miss all that stuff. I apologize, though. 10 minutes wasted. 10 minutes of our lives we're never going to get back. We're never getting these 10 minutes back. You're muted, still muted. Poor Joe. You see, it wasn't about the money. Like, it didn't matter how big it was. She tried to hit me twice. Human. Sign language now. Even gifting the memberships. Something. Someone, Joe, wake up. Joe, for the love of God, wake up. Muted, no sound helps. Excellent edition of John Cage's 433. I don't even know what that is. Tango. Lip reading with Uncle Joe. Horrible echo. There's no horrible echo. Don't even tell me that. Ungag Joe. There's no horrible echo. I don't even hear that. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a freaking mess. Throw shekels at Joe. He likes that. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Viewers Discretion. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I have no idea what the hell I said. No idea. Wait, I was talking about something. God, it was so good. Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, I know what I was talking about. I know what I was talking about. Those of you who follow me on X may have noticed that I talked about starting a movement. Why am I talking about starting a movement? It's because I saw that all these attorneys general, attorney generals, definitely sounds more professional when you say attorneys general, whether or not it's correct. It's almost like British people always sound much smarter than they actually are. So all these attorneys general jumping in, trying to attack here on gag or on the Trump thing, one trial, all these different ways they're jumping in. And I'll tell you this much. I've read a lot of their work, and I think it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. I like their writing style more than I like necessarily the legal arguments that they present. And I find myself very frustrated that I'm not loving all the legal arguments. And yet, I sort of feel I'm not in a position normally where I can actually make a stink about this sort of thing. I can't, like, why? Who's Joe Neerman? Joe Neerman is not anything to some court. Where's my standing? I don't have no standing. But what if I had a movement? What if I started a movement? What if it was a real movement? Like, I mean this like sincerely. What if I started a movement? And that movement would be very directed and like, this is our zone. This is our area. And I thought about civil rights. And I was like, that's kind of broad. Civil rights is kind of broad. I thought about First and Second Amendment. And then I realized I know too little about guns. I can easily be called on that. I am sure that 9 out of 10 of you know more about guns than I know. It's just a reality. So it's not my thing. But what I do know is First Amendment. I do understand First Amendment. Certainly free speech. I'm torn still torn between focusing exclusively on free speech versus First Amendment. Still torn. But if I had a movement, I could actually jump into the fray or bring others into the fray to make far better directed legal arguments to stand up for First Amendment rights. My first thought was the purpose of the movement would just purely to help criminal defendants who are being gagged, because I see this being an explosion. This is like going to be like the new thing that we're going to start seeing left and right. And I want to sit here fighting against this thing, fighting it. And my end date is when the DC Circuit Court is overturned, I'm done. When that Circuit Court decision that was issued in U.S. v. Trump that authorized Judge Chutkan to put a gag on Trump, and the Supreme Court finally says, no, that was crap. That was destroying everything America has always stood for with respect to its First Amendment freedom of speech. When I get to that day, I'm done. And one of the things I've talked about on this show before as to what is a movement, what makes something a movement? A movement is something that has an objective of moving from status A to status B. That's what makes it a movement. You have to have a clearly, easily definable objective. Occupy Wall Street was chaos. That is not a movement. That is just a bunch of hippies that are basically getting or lazy college kids who it's cool and it's hip to hang out and complain about people, and that's just basically going to hang out until it gets too cold and they go away. You talk about Black Lives Matter. What was their objective? Yeah, they had their stated agendas, but it's like no one knew what it was. When you have a clearly definable objective, that's when you have a movement. The suffragettes a century ago said, we want to get women the right to vote. You know when that ends? When they got the right to vote. Unfortunately, it became the women's movement, which then became, okay, now we want ERA and equal right amendment to pass and get women the right to get equal pay. Okay, then you have third wave feminism. Nobody knows what the hell that is. Nobody knows. Nobody. And that's where you see sometimes over a period of time, something that starts as a movement ends up becoming morphed into God knows what. Chaos. I don't want to be associated with chaos. Chaos is about division. Chaos is about people in power who are looking to take advantage and weaponize emotion. I am never going to be something like that. I don't want to be the weaponizer of emotion. I want to get something done. Otherwise, leave me the hell alone. So, with that in mind, I would be very directed as to what it is I want. If I start standing up for civil liberties, like I'm I'm rekindling the original ACLU, that's way too much. That's way too. There's so many different things. That's like something you need thousands of people for all the time. Hey, I can't. That's not what I'm looking to do. I have my zone here. I have my clear objective. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. Even just biting off overturning this DC Circuit Court decision feels like a lot to bite off. It feels like a lot. I'm not going to kid you because it's being used here, there. Used by Engeron, used by Judge Merchan, attempted to be used now in Florida by Jack Smith. That's the target. That's where I have my target. That's my bullseye. Get that stupid, ridiculous Frankenstein of a decision overturned by SCOTUS. I don't have standing to do that in a normal case. And I don't want to sit there trying to generate new bases for a standing. That sounds crazy. If I had a movement, then I don't need to start creating new bases for standing. It's like, no, this is the ungagged folks coming to town. I can get behind that. That I can get behind. Now, I was looking for like an acronym, preferably something having to do with Lawgic. Why? Well, cross-promotional is a thing. Cross-promotional is a thing. And I like the word Lawgic. So that would be preferable, but it's not necessary. It's not essential. So I was trying to come up with different acronyms. And I was urging people, hey, come up with different acronyms. And some people had some really phenomenal suggestions. We'll take a quick look at some of those right here and now while we're doing this. Yikes. Didn't mean to go there. Legal action with great intellectual conversation. Let me get to some of the chats that popped in here. I didn't even go through. I feel bad. I didn't even go through the 10 Good Logic memberships. If you joined late, I assume you're trying to get my attention. Welcome to the following. Those of you who came in here, I missed it. I was too. What if I had a movement said no Jew ever? Not like it's not at all a movement. It's no. This would be a movement. Fed squirrels messing with the tubes. Yeah, no, it was my computer got shut off and StreamYard just resets or recalibrates and doesn't identify the right mic when I come back on. Good lawyers against governmental incompetence. You're missing the W. Collegiates, good law always wins. Get incarcerated. What? No. Legal action. I'll show you some of the ones I had here. Because what I said was. So I was thinking something like Loyal Americans, WGIC, or Lawyers Against Weaponized Government. But the reason I don't like having lawyers against or having lawyers in the title, the reason I don't like that is because that makes it sound like it's some sort of attorney. It's a movement that's intended exclusively for attorneys. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's appropriate. I think there should be something that every real American should sign up for. So that's why I don't really... But you sort of have the A becomes precious when you're trying to make this acronym. The A really becomes healthy because for Americans or against, that's really. So I asked people to just see what they can come up with. And this is what we got. And I thought this was pretty good. Lawyers Against Weaponized Government, Institutional Corruption. It's not bad. It's a little wordy. It's a little syllable-y. Yeah, it's got a lot of syllables in it. Loyal Americans with God in control. This I kind of like. I kind of like the whole reference to God. Always Against Weaponized Government in Congress. Loyal Americans with grit. Immersive counsel. I don't know what that... Oh, that was for international? No, I'm not doing that. I definitely don't want international anyway. And infant corruption. Loyal Americans with good intentions. Yeah, that sounds like road to hell. Loyal Americans with great intuitive cognition. That sounds too forced. Lawyers Against Weaponized Government Infringement and Censorship. See, okay, this is what I just thought of. If you're looking to sort of come up with something, what I just came up with like moments before the show started is there are 4 freedoms in the First Amendment, right? You have freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly. I got 4 letters here. W, G, I, C. 4 letters. If I had loyal Americans and then I just had, something that was like speech, assembly, blah, 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 blah. Like listing off those 4. That if someone could find a way to make those the letters W, G, I, C, I think that would be it. So again, basically, and you can go in any order, I don't care. But the idea would be to come up with something where you're basically covering religion, speech. None of these letters are in WGIC. Religion, speech, assembly, and I'm drawing a blank here. Well, the 4th one. I don't know. I mentioned it a second ago. For some reason, I'm blanking right now. So you can get those. If you can get those 4 in there, that would be awesome. That would be great. All Americans withhold government, injustice, and corruption. Lawgic Incorporated cult. LA law. Hush. Loyal Americans with with good intentions, common ground. Loyal Americans with governments in persona constitution. Lawyers against weaponized government in the courts. See, this is the first thing I thought of. This is literally the first thing I thought of. I don't want to do in the courts, especially because I'm already saying lawyers. It's very alienating to someone who's not an attorney. I think this is very alienating. And the idea is I want people who care about a constitution, and C probably is probably a good one for constitution. It's good to finish. Well, Americans with, I don't know, with God something constitution. I don't know. Godspeed, Joe. That's not working. Lawyers against weaponized government, informing citizens. That sounds like it's against informing citizens. It's confusing, I think. Intrusive corruption, information control. Information control. Against weaponized government and information control. Maybe weaponized is the wrong word. Loyal Americans with good ideas, clearly. And then that was a direction that we were certainly going to go eventually enough. I don't feel like I'm there yet. This was not bad. Like I said, this is actually one of the options, which I think right now, lawyers against weaponized government, institutionalized corruption. This is the most serious. This to me is one of the three most serious suggestions that I've seen. Oh, anyway. A miracle keeps you happiness. Nice. I see what you're doing there, Greg. I see what you're doing there. Anyway, so this is. I don't care about Canada. Canada is lost. I don't know. No. Law-abiding citizens. So this is just it's too long. It's too long. All right. I'm seeing that experts doing an effective job of keeping out libertarians against weaponized governments and institutions. I don't know. Maybe people got to come up with, maybe Loyal Americans is not the start. Maybe it's got to be something better. I'm not married to anything yet. It feels clunky. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm there yet. I don't feel like I'm there. No, you can't get a refund. Achtung! LL, Liberty Legion, better than SS. Okay. Law agent with gritty interactive coverage. It's not movement. Forget Lawgic, it's too long. You need something short, catchy, and simple. You want people to remember it. Okay. All right. Like I said at the very beginning, I started with. Starts with a great name. Something that leans on logic is preferable, but not essential. Not essential. That's what I wrote. Not essential. So I agree with you. It doesn't have to have logic because there's a long C is for cookie. That should be good enough for you. Liberty advocacy was for worship, gathering information, and communication. Ooh, Tyrant Tommy. That's not bad. Worship, gathering, information, and communication. Is assembly? Wait, speech? Why am I missing the fourth one? Enjoying a blank. How about low American? This is really not bad time. That's pretty good. How about loyal Americans wanting government interference ceased? That was an option I put in the poll. That's literally the option I think I put in the poll. I think I put something like that in the poll. So do we get punch bowls in the movement? Look, if the movement actually happens, things will happen. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So I also wanted to just inform you all, in case you were one of those people who still thought that Trump was a racist because of something that he said. Apparently, Snopes thinks you're wrong. That Trump is not a racist. I saw this today and I was laughing. It only took them 7 years. 7 friggin' years. The claim that former President Donald Trump called the neo-Nazis and white supremacists who attended the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally in 2017 verified people was rated by Snopes, a left-leaning fact-checking website, as being false. Good morning. Trump comments regarding the rally recently resurfaced on social media, and Snopes determined in a post last week that claims about his comments were false. Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, referring to the protesters and counter-protesters. He said the same statement he was talking about. He wasn't talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists, who he said should be condemned totally, fact checkers said. After the initial post by Snopes on Thursday, the website was updated to include an editor's note stating that readers have raised concerns about how the fact check appears to assume Trump was correct, which Snopes says is not the case. So it was all about confirming his statement. Can you believe 7 years later, it took them 7 years for them to finally rate this false? Does that tell you that Trump is about to assume power? That they're like, oh, this guy's coming? I don't know. Because when he was in power, they still were full hot garbage about him. That was the first thing I wanted to address. Second thing I wanted to address was, if you're in my locals, and if not, shame on you. But if you're part of goodlogic.locals.com, you may have caught my live stream on Friday where I was talking about U.S. versus Rahimi. That's a Second Amendment case that was decided on Friday, at which point it was 8-1 in a finding that the state is allowed to restrict your access to guns if someone gets an order of a DV against you, a DV restraining order against you. And what's really sad is that Vox, their analysis on this is actually more accurate than most other places. When Vox is doing a better job than you, there's something really freaking wrong. I said it. This was Vox's report on it. Supreme Court refuses to accept blame for its worst guns decision. Okay, their framing is going to be stupidly Vox, obviously. I mean, they are Vox. U.S. versus Rahimi is completely incoherent and it faults lower courts for the justices' own incompetence. No, it was their cowardice in Rahimi. That's the problem. It's their cowardice in Rahimi that was the problem. Because Rahimi, really, if you read New York Rifle Association versus Bruin, and you understand that case at all, that case says very clearly the yardstick for any statute that is proposing to restrict access to your ability to maintain a weapon, to infringe on your Second Amendment rights, there must be a parallel in American history and tradition, a parallel statute in America. It doesn't have to be the same, but some sort of way that we see that this problem has been addressed in a similar way historically. Supreme Court came out 8-1 saying that this DV, this state right to take away someone's guns and restrict them from being able to access a gun if there's a report that's filed by a loved one saying that they are a danger or a threat, and then get a restraining order, that they then can lose their guns forever, that somehow is still consistent with Bruin. This notion is ludicrous. And Justice Clarence Thomas, the only one who still has hair on his sack, did not mince any words in his dissent as to how ridiculous it was. And obviously all eyes really turn on Alito because, he's the guy you would expect to be signing on with Clarence Thomas on this. He caved. But it doesn't make sense in a world where Bruin is still good law. And they claim it is. There's good news in Friday's Supreme Court decision, United States versus Rahimi, if you're an idiot. But the court concluded that at least some people subject to domestic violence restraining orders do not have a categorical right to own a firearm and upheld the law preventing them from doing so. While Rahimi produced a maze of concurring... What is this? Oh, my God. Let me make this bigger. Produced a maze of concurring dissenting opinions. 8 justices ultimately agreed that a man who literally threatened to shoot the mother of his child should not be armed. We don't know that. That's the problem. It's not been adjudicated by a court. It's simply a restraining order. It's a restraining order. We don't know he ever did this, rather than just having some crazy woman make that claim about him. And one of the things I explained on Locals, one of the reasons this is so frustrating is because it's very easy. It's very easy to get a restraining order. And there's good logic that it should be. It should be relatively easy. Well, let's forget about the morality of it. Let's put that aside as far as good logic that it should be easy. Let's just put that aside for a second. I've told a story over here about how I went before a judge and I once tried to get a TRO to stop a guy's property from being taken. He was the owner of nursing homes and they were shutting it down for really no reason at all. It was really just it was a government persecution against my client. They didn't like the way he handled things in another state, and they decided we're going to just shut him down. And they made claims against him, which were crap. They were completely made up. And when I ran to court, the judge said to me, and I said, I wanted a TRO saying, stop removing patients from this. The judge said to me, no judge is ever going to sign off on something that they have to worry is putting someone's life in jeopardy so that you can enjoy some privilege. Because they're terrified that someone is literally going to be deleted and they will be accountable for not taking the warning cry, the clang, 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 clang warning cry seriously enough, and now someone is dead. So that's why when someone raises a warning cry of, oh my God, somebody is imperiled, somebody's life is in danger here, courts are very quick to respond and err on the side of protecting a potential danger to human life. And perhaps this is one of the reasons that the gag orders were signed, if you want to give the courts the benefit of the doubt. If you want to give the courts the benefit of the doubt. I still think that they're not entitled to that benefit of the doubt. But those who want to give them the benefit of the doubt will say, so you see, they don't want someone to get hurt. And they don't want to be responsible. That I said no to the relief that was requested, or I granted a certain relief that was requested, and as a result of that decision that I made, I knowingly put someone's life in danger, and that danger manifested in somebody being buried in the ground. That's a very weighty position to put a judge in. Now, because of that, if someone files a complaint saying, hey, my ex is a lunatic who threatened me and I want to get a restraining order against them, judges will be like, okay. Because what does a restraint mean? A restraint really just means Stay 500 yards away. What's the big deal? Who cares? Now you're stuck. You can't go within 500 yards of this person's house. Boo-hoo. You have the rest of the country you can visit. You can't go within 500 yards of their house or the kid's school, whatever it is. Boo-hoo. How's that really affecting you? Rather than saying, no, I'm not accepting your claim, and then learn 2 weeks later that this woman was murdered. No judge wants to be responsible for that. So we're like, oh, okay, fine. You're afraid of this guy, so I'll give you the relief. The problem is that once they grant this relief, now all of a sudden they're saying, take away this guy's guns for the rest of his life. So they're very quick. It's an administrative decision practically, because there's no jury that's saying that this guy actually did something. There's no jury that's adjudicating that he's a threat. But that's the ramifications are very grave for anyone who has this restraining order, far more grave than they're far more grave than just you can't go within 500 yards. It's you can't defend yourself anymore. And what's very short-sighted about this decision, very short-sighted, is, so what's the alternative? What's the alternative? So now perhaps judges are going to be like, well, I'm a little concerned about taking away this guy's Second Amendment rights. So maybe they will be more cautious about it. Perhaps more cautious than they should be. And that could end up leading to people being killed because they do a poor job in presenting an argument for what is a very serious concern about some crazy X. So it's very poorly thought out. The ramifications are very poorly thought out. It's just very virtue signally, really it's really positive as far as the virtue signal that, like, hey, if she had to get a restraining order on this guy, obviously we don't want him having a gun, because that's very knee-jerk type of reaction to the anti-gun community of, like, obviously we need to save lives. But the other ramification of this is, what the hell does this do to Bruen? Now that it's 8-1, what the hell does this mean with Bruen? Bruen presented this nice, healthy, bright line. If there was, and as Justice Thomas points out, you think they didn't have DV issues 200 years ago? Of course they did. Of course they did. No one said take away guns back then. There were other remedies that they had. Then certain scenarios, that if the guy committed a crime, he did something violent, then you took away his guns. That would be something that would be parallel and akin to this, not some judge signing off on some restraining order. So what the court did here is they basically caved on this, and now it basically means that Bruen it's open season on the bright line rule of Bruen. It's open season because every gun restriction law now, which people assumed were eventually going to be knocked off, boom, 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 one by one, because they're not really consistent with anything that we had historically and traditionally. All of them come back into play now. And maybe you'll find some way to find favor with the court and keep those laws upheld, which basically means, what the hell is Bruen worth anymore? It really gutted Bruen. It's terrible. It's a terrible decision. And Vox basically points out the chaos that now ensues as a result of Rahimi. There's also bad news. Chief Justice John Roberts' majority opinion is utterly incoherent. Of course it is. It does nothing to clear up the mass confusion created by the court's 2022 decision. That's not where the confusion. There was a bright line rule there. It was just their cowardice in actually applying that bright line rule, which held that all gun laws are unconstitutional unless the government can demonstrate the regulation is consistent with this nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. That decision threw gun regulation throughout the United States into chaos and prompted an unusually long list of complaints from sitting judges. It's not unusually long. Whenever there's a new law, there's a new interpretation of something, there's going to be complaints from judges. In Rahimi, the far-right U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit struck down a federal law banning people subject to domestic violence restraining orders from owning guns. They said it doesn't fit with Bruen. Yet while the First Circuit has a history of taking liberties with the law to achieve conservative results, ha ha ha, Vox is so crazy. Its decision, the Fifth decision in Rahimi case, was correctly decided under Bruen. Obviously. As Clarence Thomas persuasively argues in dissent, Bruen compelled the Fifth Circuit to rule domestic abusers do indeed have a Second Amendment right to own a gun. Friday's decision, Rahimi, essentially carves out an exception to Bruin that is just large enough to allow Zaki Rahimi, the cartoonishly violent individual at the center of the case, to be disarmed. But Roberts' opinion does little else, and it provides absolutely no meaningful guidance to lower court judges who are struggling to apply the vague historical tradition test announced in Bruin. It wasn't vague until Friday. Friday's decision is what made it vague. Sadly, Friday's decision is what made it vague, because apparently it's not really what's historical tradition. Because how are you going to make something consistent with Rahimi now? Now you have some new gun regulation law that's being attacked. I'll give you a perfect one. Okay? They had drug users 200 years ago. Were drug users restricted from being able to own guns? Are you allowed to restrict them today? Because they weren't restricted 200 years ago. So Hunter Biden, U.S. v. Hunter Biden, he gets convicted of purchasing a gun and lying on the application about his narcotic usage. Now, frankly, his lawyers should attack it under Bruin and say this law is unconstitutional. And under Bruin, it's pretty clear it is unconstitutional. There is no right for them to restrict someone who's addicted to cocaine or basically anything from owning a gun. It's unconstitutional under Bruin. But how do you read Bruin together with Rahimi? I mean, it's such a mess. It's chaos now. Now is chaos. Terrible job. So what they were complaining about Bruin, that Bruin was too difficult. No, Bruin was very easy. Even you got it right. That you were correct. That Rahimi should have been decided the way the Fifth Circuit decided under Bruin. That means it's not confusing. When even you simpletons at Vox can figure out what Bruin means for Rahimi and get it right and say the Fifth Circuit got it right, in that case, Bruin is not what made the mess. Rahimi now made a mess. It basically took a dump all over Bruin. That's what this does. Took a dump all over it. It's awful. It's awful. Jackson urges her court to abandon Bruin entirely. She's an idiot. I can't. I'm not going to start going to the rest of it. So, yeah, that was my thoughts on that. That was my thoughts. Where was I at? Did I get? I'm peeking over on. Write a petition is not a fifth one. It's speech, press, religion, and assembly. It's SPAR. I just got to figure out how to make SPAR, Rivka the J Gamer. And I got to figure out a petition. The right to petition means assembly. That's what it is. You can lump those two together. I know I'm being... Real Patriot Party. Here's yet another $2 to blow like the last $12 of my rants you never read. Ever find the iced Java syrup there, Boomer? No, I did not. No, I did not. When did you spend $12? I don't know when that happened. I did not find the iced Java. I bought Ovaltine instead, which is definitely not what you wanted. All right. Let's talk about Jack Smith. Got that off my chest. One second. There you are. Okay. Jack Smith. In order to understand Jack Smith and the issues he's having in Florida, we really need to start. We need to start with a man by the name of Edwin Meese. Many of you are probably too young to remember our 75th Attorney General by the name of Edwin Meese. But Edwin Meese submitted an amicus curiae brief to the court. And I believe he submitted this with respect to the privilege immunity question. It's not really the immunity question is not really the question. It was not really addressing this issue. But the question that Jack Smith is now facing in Florida is the legitimacy of his position as a special prosecutor. What is legitimacy of his position? Does he actually have a real position? Does he have a right to file papers and bring an action as an attorney, as a U.S. attorney, and charge Donald Trump? People tend to just, when it comes to issues of independent counsel and special prosecutor, these are areas of law which, frankly, very few people, including attorneys, really seem to understand very much about. And I'm not going to profess that I'm an expert on it, but I will defer to Edwin Meese, because Edwin Meese makes some powerful points. I am not going to go through his entire amicus brief. It's 25 pages, but we are going to go through 4 of them, because I just think that it's a healthy thing for us to do. And it's also something that when we understand a little bit more about Edwin Meese's arguments, we can better appreciate just how tenuous Jack Smith's position actually is, and why it is that Judge Aileen Cannon in Florida is starting to have questions about that. So, without further ado, let's take a quick look, very quick. We're going to look at, like I said, 3 pages. We're just going to look at his introduction. 3 pages? 3.5 pages. That's what we're going to do. Here we go. This is what he filed before the Supreme Court, Edwin Meese. Introduction, interest of amicus curiae. Jack Smith does not have authority. Let's do this. Nope. I might not edit. That's what I wanted. Gosh, why is it not? That's what I wanted. Okay. Jack Smith does not have authority to conduct the prosecution underlying this case. Now, this was filed in Washington, not in Florida, but it is what he's dealing with in Florida now. Those actions can only be taken by persons properly appointed as federal officers to properly created federal offices. So there's 2 elements to this here. There's 2 elements. First, you need to be, oh my gosh, stop this. You need to be properly appointed as a federal officer, and the position has to be properly created. So first you need to create the position, and then you need to be properly appointed. But neither Smith nor the position of special counsel under which he purportedly acts meets those criteria. And that is a serious problem for the rule of law. Whatever one may think of former President Trump or the conduct Smith challenges in the underlying case, doesn't matter what the law is. The question is he a guy who's able to come in here and do this? The illegality addressed in this brief started November 18, 2022, when Merrick Garland exceeded his legal authority by purporting to appoint Smith as special counsel for the DOJ. So he's claiming that he's the one who's the right guy to do it. So he can appoint him. Smith was appointed to conduct the ongoing investigation into whether any person or entity, including Trump, violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College that was held on January 6th. So this is what his job was, according to Merrick Garland. Engage in an investigation. That's not prosecute. That's really just create a report. Right? Garland cited as statutory authority for his appointment 28 U.S.C. 509, 510, 515, and 533. But none of these statutes, nor any other statutory or constitutional provision remotely authorize the appointment by the Attorney General of a private citizen to receive extraordinary criminal law enforcement power, just because you give him this nice highfalutin name of being special counsel. So he doesn't have the authority to just take some random guy and say, you're my special counsel, which is essentially what he did here. First, the Appointments Clause requires that all federal offices, so this is not officers, this is the position, every office that is not otherwise provided for in the Constitution must be established by law. What does that mean? It means you need to have a statute. You need to have a statute which is actually created saying, we're creating, that Congress says we're now going to have this job of Mr. Really Important Trump Chaser or a special prosecutor. But there is no statute establishing the Office of Special Counsel in the DOJ. They never said the DOJ gets to have a special counsel office. Congress never said the DOJ can do that. The statutory provisions relied upon by DOJ and lower courts for the appointment of special counsels over the past half century do not authorize the creation and appointment of special counsels at the level of United States attorneys. And this is what I was just pointing out to you. You can make someone an investigator. You can make someone some private dick for the federal government. Yeah, a lot of people have done that, where they're basically running around and doing interviews and doing what Robert Mueller. What did Robert Mueller do? Right? He created this big multi-million. He spent millions of dollars investigating Trump, and he moved along to basically create a report. And then ultimately you recommend or don't recommend prosecution. That's not engaging in prosecution. So if Jack Smith wanted to create a report, then he would be in the terrain of what special prosecutors have been doing. But for him to actually engage in filing federal charges, where the hell is that from? United States v. Nixon does not hold to the contrary because no question was ever raised in that case about the validity of the independent counsel's appointment. Second, even if one overlooks the absence of statutory authority for the position. So let's put a pin on that for a moment. There's no statute specifically authorizing the Attorney General rather than the President by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to appoint such a special counsel. So if Biden himself recommended, I want Jack Smith to engage in this, and then the Senate came around and said, we're confirming your guy, that would be a different thing. But that's not what happened here. It's just Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, saying that he's able to do that. Under the Appointments Clause, inferior officers can be appointed by department heads only if Congress so directs by statute. So if we grant and confer upon Merrick Garland the title of being a department head, that he's the head of the DOJ, he's limited to only appointing positions that are there by statute. U.S. Constitution Article 2, Section 2, and so direct specifically enough to overcome a clear statement presumption in favor of presidential appointment and senatorial confirmation. No such statute exists for special counsel. There's just nothing there. So it's a made-up position. Third, special counsel, if a valid officer, is a principal rather than inferior officer, and thus cannot be appointed without senatorial confirmation, regardless of what any statutes say. Under the Constitution, he had to be confirmed, and nobody wanted to take responsibility for sicking him on, for sending him out there. Even though the truth is, frankly, I think that the Senate probably would have been happy to chase after Donald Trump. But a large part of what's happening here is that they want to try and maintain this Chinese wall that no one believes for a second. But for purposes of appearances, the Democrats never wanted to be that Biden is going after Trump. So that's why he sicked his lapdog, Merrick Garland, and said, Merrick Garland, you're the one who's going to basically be appointing this person. But there's nothing. Merrick Garland doesn't have the authority under the Constitution to create the position or to appoint someone there, and whoever would be designated would have to be confirmed by the Senate. This is true as a matter of original meaning, and it's even true as a matter of case law once one understands that neither Morrison v. Olson nor Edmund v. United States can plausibly be read to say that any person who is in a fashion subordinate to another executive official other than the president is an inferior officer. And he spends a lot of time talking about what's an inferior officer and things of that nature, which I'm not going to get into. Such a reading of those decisions leads to the ludicrous result that there's only one non-inferior officer in every executive department. Again, I'm not going to get into that. To be sure, there are times when the appointment of a special counsel is appropriate. And this is one of the things that I want you to focus on for just a moment. So let's just pause, because this is one of the things that we're going to watch a video. And I want you to be prepared for them to basically be raising this argument in the video and know beforehand why it's flawed. So when you're hearing from this guy who sounds very highfalutin, very widely respected in the left, why he's full of crap and gaslighting his own audience. Because there are times when the appointment of a special counsel is appropriate. And statutes of the Constitution both provide ample means for such appointments by allowing the use of existing U.S. attorneys. For example, Patrick Fitzgerald, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, was appointed by then acting Attorney General to investigate Valerie Plame leak, which occurred within the District of Columbia. And Fitzgerald, who was a Senate-confirmed officer in the United States, prosecuted Vice President Cheney's Chief of Staff, Scooter Libby, in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Other recent examples include U.S. Attorneys John Huber and John Durham, who were both lawfully appointed. What statutes in the Constitution do not allow, however, is the Attorney General to appoint a private citizen. So if you want to do it, you have to take someone who's already been brought in and confirmed as a lawyer, as to work as U.S. Attorney. He cannot bring in a private citizen who was never confirmed by the Senate as a substitute United States attorney under the title Special Counsel. He has to be confirmed, as happened here. That appointment was unlawful, as were all the legal actions that have flowed from it, including Smith's prosecution of Trump. Given their interest in and demonstrated commitment to the rule of law, the legal issue this brief addresses is particularly important to amici. The Honorable Edwin Meese III served as the 75th Attorney General of the United States after having served as counselor to the President, and is now the Ronald Reagan Distinguished Fellow Emeritus at the Heritage Foundation. During his tenure as the AG, Department of Justice steadfastly defended proper limits on federal power. Professors Calabresi and Lawson are scholars of the original public meaning of the Constitution. No, even Lawson signed up on this. Finally, Citizens United, social welfare organization, and Citizens United Foundation, educational legal organization dedicated to restoring government to the people through promoting federalism, free enterprise, individual liberty, and limited government. So there you go. Now you understand a little bit more. So when we're breaking down these arguments here, let's just do a quick review as to the three main points that he made. Okay, so that we're on the same page when we're looking through this video. So you won't even need me to walk you through it. You'll be like, "Wow, this guy sucks." So, first one is that let me go in order here. Under the Appointments Clause, you have to have a statute in order for this guy to have the job that he's getting here. Some statute creating the position. There's no statutes. Secondly, that inferior officers can be appointed by department heads only if Congress so directs by statute. And thirdly, that the special counsel, if it's a valid officer, is a principal rather than an inferior officer, which means that he has to be confirmed. He cannot just be hit. If he's going to serve as in that role as a U.S. attorney, he has to be confirmed by the Senate. These are the problems that Jack Smith has. That there is no basis for him to be filing this. So, with that in mind, let's check out Glenn Kirshner.
So, friends, in a Florida courtroom on Friday, Trump-appointed Judge Aileen Cannon will, in substance, put special counsel Jack Smith on trial.
Yep.
Taking up the issue of whether Jack Smith should even be allowed to prosecute the man who gave her her job.
See, look how he frames it. That's the reason she's doing this is not because she actually cares about the rule of law, but because she was appointed to the court by Trump. Jackass.
Defendant Donald Trump. Let's talk about that, because justice matters.
Justice matters. Framing matters. Justice matters.
Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, on the legal front, we continue to live in the upside down.
You're the upside down.
Since the 1800s, special counsel, specially appointed prosecutors have been investigating, indicting, and trying cases.
No.
None of which seems to matter to Trump-appointed Judge
only if they've been confirmed by the Senate.
Aileen Cannon, because on Friday, apparently ignoring all well-settled precedent.
No, she's fixating very closely on precedent in ways that frustrate you.
Judge Cannon will hold an extended hearing on the question of whether special counsel Jack Smith has any right to prosecute defendant Donald Trump.
How dare she engage in legal analysis that we don't like? Listen to what this jackass is whining about. She didn't rule that he's illegitimate yet. But just the audacity that she's noticed that, hey, he hasn't gone through the same process as any other special prosecutor ever, and that she's actually looking at that. Somehow he's saying that this is a violation of justice matters. What a jackass. He's literally a dickhead.
Yes, the very defendant who gave Judge Aileen Cannon her lifetime appointment to the federal bench. The legal upside down. Now, friends, I want to start by quoting.
If I ever start calling you friends like this jackass, just please, just call me out.
Pretty extensively from a new article in the Daily Beast, because it does a nice job of kind of setting out what to expect in Friday's hearing and sort of where things go from there, what the stakes are. So please bear with me while I read a good bit of this Daily Beast article, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Headline: Trump's favorite judge puts Mar-a-Lago prosecutor on trial. That article begins.
Yeah, with their stupid framing. Obviously, this is going to be this is going to be really good journalism right here. This is not an opinion piece.
The tables have.
How do you know his favorite judge? Is that new? Is that actually something that you've established that that's his favorite judge? How do you know that? Oh, because it's an opinion piece that you're sitting here reading as if it's fact. I'm not even going to listen to it. I'm not even going to. Should I do this? I'll do this at 1.5.
Turned.
Had
everything gone according to plan, Donald Trump would be on trial right now in South Florida for hoarding classified.
According to whose plan?
Documents at his Mar-a-Lago ocean estate after leaving the White House. The politician, still licking his wounds from his New York conviction, would be desperately fighting to stave off a humiliating distinction, becoming the first former president to be branded a two-time felon. Instead, a very different trial of sorts will be underway this Friday at a tiny federal courthouse in the sunny beach city of Fort Pierce, one that will awkwardly put the Department of Justice on the defensive.
Properly. You meant properly, not awkwardly.
With government lawyers asserting their most fundamental right to even try this historic case.
Yep.
All the pressure.
What makes him a government lawyer? That's the actual question, jackass.
Jack Smith, the roguish-looking federal prosecutor whose quiet demeanor has only added to the gravitas.
I mean, here's the thing that you need to think about as to why this confirmation is so important. Garland keeps saying he's not under my supervision. Well, how do you appoint someone to a position that is not under your supervision? That's like me deciding that who the new CEO of YouTube is. Like, why would I have authority to do that? If the guy is not under your control, how are you in a position you can hire him? Now, if he had been confirmed by the Senate, in that case, okay, this is someone who the Senate has now given their blessing to. But on the one hand, he's like, no, he's not under my control. This is not the DOJ. This is special prosecutor. This is he's doing his own thing here. Well, where's his authority coming from? It's coming from you.
Of this legal fight. Meanwhile, Trump won't even need to be there, leaving the top Republican presidential candidate free to continue crisscrossing the country while the prosecutor that's been on his tail for a year is stuck in a courtroom. The power dynamic has shifted, and it's all due to one person, U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon. Quote, Judge Cannon is a disgrace to the concept of impartiality and integrity on the federal bench. This case should already have been tried to a verdict, said Dennis Aftergut, a former federal prosecutor who has monitored the Mar-a-Lago case. My
research was pro-blocking U.S. Attorney Weiss from charging Biden California for tax evasion. Garland's own Senate testimony should preclude Smith. Yeah.
Friendly rulings have managed to delay the case so badly that it now looks as if Trump might escape trial altogether if he manages to win the national election in 138 days. After all, what's the point of prosecuting a man who, as president, can order his attorney general to simply kill the investigation or choose to pardon himself? Trump has made clear he has no intention of respecting the DOJ's independence if he returns to office, despite the fact that both options are red lines of corruption so familiar to banana republics around the world. Cannon continues to push back key deadlines and give in to Trump's delay tactics by considering legal arguments that other judges have quickly dismissed.
For no reason.
In her latest move.
That's when other judges, DC judges. Wow. My throat is not good.
She'll explore whether Attorney General Merrick Garland even had the authority to appoint Smith as special counsel on November 18, 2022, a DOJ practice that has been used several times in high-profile cases without any successful challenge and has become standard in American politics.
Standard when they're confirmed. Standard when they're confirmed.
So let's dig down a little on the historic use of special counsel. In March, the DOJ countered by pointing to history. Special counsels have been used to investigate all kinds of political scandals dating back to the presidency of James A. Garfield in the 1880s. The Supreme Court already took a look at this in 1974 when it decided during the Nixon affair that the Attorney General does indeed have the authority to appoint a special prosecutor. Since then, there have been special counsels during every single presidential term, even during Trump's time in office. Prosecutors noted,
just make a roll of papers he wants. Whew. That doesn't mean he's right. I think it's important to highlight that all your tracksuits are in the mail with included almond flavored. I didn't even know there was an almond flavored. Sneakers will be sized probably. Don't ask how we know. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what any of this means. I apologize that I missed a whole bunch of super chats. For one reason, they weren't being collected properly by StreamYard. So I missed a whole bunch. Loyal Americans for words, God, inquiry, government, and connections. Words, God, inquiry, God. You're up the right track. It's not there yet. Prohibitions in blind or ex parte inventory is required. See CRM 101491. Don't see a Bruin connection. It's not after. There's no jury, though. There's no jury in that case, though. Legal advocates will guarantee independent charter. All right, it spells out Lawgic, but I don't really see it. I'm not feeling it. Put the right to abortion on the same TRO tests. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. No, I doubt it. I doubt it. I can't. Can you imagine anyone on the left
They're going to give him. I mean, I don't know. I doubt it. Expressive Liberties Protection Group. This is a movement of legal minds and lay people who champion First Amendment, fighting against government censorship and unconstitutional gag orders. Expressive. This is a mouthful. I would just go with no gag over this. No gags. Legal advocacy withstanding institutional corruption. I'm missing the J. They probably mean government. Legal advocacy. That's about lawyers. I might as well do lawyers against them, right? Clarence Thomas, the only one who got it right. I agree with you on that. Again, I'm catching up on. I'm catching up on super chats that I missed. For one reason or another, never collected.
How the appellate court in D.C. came to the same conclusion when it backed the appointment of Robert Mueller to explore Trump's Russiagate debacle. Quote, Congress has also long demonstrated its understanding that the Attorney General has authority to appoint special counsels by repeatedly...
How is that Trump's Russiagate debacle? That was your media debacle. What the hell does that mean? The media's Russiagate debacle. What the hell is that? They're so stupid. I mean, how ridiculous can someone be referred to as Trump's? Look at that phrase, Trump's Russiagate debacle. This is just insanity. This is where your brain has basically said, okay, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. You go run off on your emotions and just do whatever the hell you're going to do. You got no need for me. I'm atrophying here. You're not engaging me at all. Go do your stupid, emotional, crazy screaming. Start screaming, la, 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 or whatever it is, or no, or whatever or shrieking into your phone about how angry you are, because there's zero need for me to hang out here anymore. That's what this is. Trump's Russiagate debacle. I've been logic rolled. Trump's Russiagate debacle. Unbelievable. Stupid.
Appropriating funds for the Attorney General to compensate them, prosecutors wrote. So, friends, even though the law and the precedent is clear regarding the legality and the propriety...
No, it's not. It's very clear that he has to be confirmed by Congress. Otherwise, what is the authority of Jack Smith to appoint him? This is what you need to explain. Where's the statutes? Where's the beef?
Of using a special counsel? Judge Cannon has decided to let a bunch of conservative activists come in and present oral arguments at Friday's hearing.
Isn't that great?
Last week, a band of conservative activists threw its support behind Trump, arguing that the real problem here is that the AG shouldn't have plucked Jack Smith from his job as an anti-corruption prosecutor in Europe, and instead should have tapped one of the nation's active 93 Senate-confirmed U.S. attorneys. The Trump-friendly argument conveniently says that nearly all the special prosecutors appointed during the past 40 years, aside from Smith and Robert Mueller, have been lawfully appointed.
Great catch, Kate.
Friends, did I mention that we're living in the legal upside down? You know what Judge Aileen Cannon should have done?
You are so friggin' upside down. You are so... My God. It's like...
With Donald Trump's motion to just toss his case. Because, Jack Smith shouldn't be prosecuting him at all. She should have decided it on the papers. No hearing is necessary. She should have decided it on...
What's the purpose of the hearing? Do you even know what the purpose of the hearing is?
On the papers. In other words, by reading Trump's motion and the prosecutor's opposition. And she should have ruled from the bench with one word.
Yeah, well, okay. With one word. Oh.
Denied. Let me actually quote something that a 27-year-long federal judge recently said about Judge Aileen Cannon's performance in the Trump case.
Oh, some judge said this? Oh. Who is it, Lawgic? Is that who it was?
Judge Shira Scheindlin.
Oh.
Here's what she just said about Judge Cannon in an NPR interview. Quote, most experienced judges, which of course I consider myself after 27 years, try to know which motions really require further consideration and argument, and which, instinctively, you could say, frankly, one word, denied. You can rule from the bench. And that is what Judge Cannon should have done. Rather than invite a bunch of conservative political types to come in and present arguments, people who are not even involved, they're not parties in the case, are going to present arguments to a trial court judge. I never saw that in my 30 years as a prosecutor. I'm not saying it's never happened, but
oh, so it does happen. So it does happen.
On an issue like this, it shouldn't happen.
Well, but this is actually a pretty interesting issue. It's a pretty complex issue.
But you know what, friends? That's not the only thing Judge Scheindlin said about Judge Aileen Cannon's performance in the Trump case.
What else did she say?
The main thing that stood out to me is how she, Judge Cannon, has constantly caused delay in the case instead of moving it forward. She's done that in two ways.
By the way, her name is pronounced Shira. 100% is pronounced not Shira. It's Shira.
One is her inability to rule in an efficient manner. The second thing that stands out to me is what appears to me to be her dislike of the government, meaning the prosecutors.
That's exactly what it is.
And her favoritism toward the defense, meaning Donald Trump. Friends, I almost hope Judge Cannon grants Donald Trump's motion to dismiss his case, because Jack Smith will absolutely appeal her ruling, and he will win.
Will he? Will he? Based on what? Based on what?
But even more importantly, it may finally give Jack Smith what he thinks he needs to file a motion to recuse, a motion to...
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good. Just because she gets your motion, assuming she rules to dismiss the case because Jack Smith is a nobody. Like, she's literally saying, "Who are you? Who?" That's what hearing this motion is. She's literally saying, "Wait, who are you? Why are you here? Why are we listening to you? Why do I have to entertain you?" Assuming that she says you don't have the standing you don't have any authorization under law, under color of law, to come in here and press these claims. So he would need it to be overturned by the circuit court, or I guess by the Supreme Court in theory. And then if that were to happen, that means that now she has to recuse herself because she got the call wrong? Really? What a jackass.
Remove Judge Aileen Cannon from the Trump case and have appointed a fair, impartial, independent judge to preside over Donald Trump's federal prosecution.
Anyone who disagrees with you is not fair or impartial. So there you go. He's not very happy about it. So here's how that trial, that hearing was going, because that happened on Friday. So let's get a little update on that. This was made before Friday. He's like, "Why do you need to have an evidentiary hearing? Why do you need to have an evidentiary hearing?" Well, here's one reason you need to have an evidentiary hearing, Glenn. Maybe you should consider this, Glenn. Judge Cannon wants to know whether Merrick Garland is supervising Jack Smith. The judge in Donald Trump's classified documents case asked lawyers how much independence the special counsel has. The Florida judge overseeing Donald Trump's classified documents case grilled special counsel Jack Smith's prosecutors Friday on how closely Attorney General Merrick Garland oversees their work. Under persistent questioning from U.S. District Attorney Judge Aileen Cannon, the prosecutors declined to divulge details and seemed caught off guard by the inquiries. At one point, Smith Deputy James Pierce said he was, quote, "not authorized." You're not authorized to tell the court to discuss the level of communication that occurred between the Attorney General and the special counsel. Okay. I don't think that's helpful. That's helping you in opposing this motion. I don't want to make it seem like I'm hiding something, Pierce then said. Of course, it doesn't seem like that at all. You're just not at liberty to tell the court. But don't think I'm hiding something. That's exactly what it looks like. The questioning came at the end of a 5-hour hearing focused on a long shot effort by Trump. Maybe it is a long shot. Maybe it's not. To have the charges against him thrown out. Smith has accused Trump of hoarding national secrets at his Mar-a-Lago estate after his presidency, obstructing the government's efforts to retrieve them. Trump contends that Smith's appointment by Garland as special counsel in November 2022 is unconstitutional, and that Smith lacked the legal authority to bring the case against the former president. Though other courts have uniformly swept aside similar challenges to the validity of special counsel's appointments, basically there's one court that did one other courts. Cannon, a 2020 Trump appointee to the bench, scheduled lengthy oral arguments on the matter, a sign that she was taking it seriously. During Friday's proceedings, she gave little indication of how she intends to rule. The Justice Department typically appoints special counsels to oversee cases in which the department's leadership may have a conflict of interest. Under DOJ regulations, special counsels report to the Attorney General, but have more independence than other federal prosecutors. Really? That's interesting. What's the statute for that? Trump has publicly claimed without evidence that Smith is essentially a pawn of President Joe Biden. What do you mean without evidence? Where's that coming from? Without evidence? What about the meetings? What about all the meetings? But in court, what do you call evidence? In court, his lawyers are making a contrary argument that Smith's independence means he's operating beyond the limits of what DOJ employees are permitted to do. Because he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because they didn't follow the rules. And the fact that they didn't follow the rules only goes to provide evidence that Biden's fingers are all over this. Under the Constitution, only an officer appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate can wield the level of power that Smith has, Trump's lawyers claim. For decades, special counsels have not been presidentially appointed or Senate confirmed. But they've been U.S. attorneys. That's the difference. And they've had other fundamental roles. In questioning prosecutors about Garland's supervision, Cannon seemed to be trying to determine how much independent authority Smith has in practice. Before the judge, and part of the problem they had is this paragraph here really underscores how they're sort of damned if they do, damned if they don't. Because, and this is the line that Smith will struggle to walk. I just want to explain this to you. Think about this for a second. If he's working directly for Garland, well, then you can say, okay, so Garland's overseeing it, but he's not really a special prosecutor. He's just sort of some new attorney that was hired. But they keep calling him special prosecutor. So if he's working directly for him, then you don't need to have a special carve-out rule for him, and it's the DOJ that's going after Trump. What they don't like is that politically, it looks like it's Biden's DOJ going after Trump. But they've been trying to dance around that problem of saying it's Biden, a political problem, of that it's Biden's DOJ going after Trump. Biden's DOJ has the jurisdiction and authority to go after Trump. It just doesn't look good. So that's why they try to have him labeled special prosecutor. But if he's special prosecutor, that implies there's a certain independence. It also means he has to be confirmed by Congress. Or at least that at some stage in his career, he was confirmed by Congress. I'm just sort of like parsed out there. The position has to be something that's carved out. None of this is in conformity with the Constitution. So they're trying to dance at two weddings. That's really the problem. They don't, because they didn't go through the proper steps. So really, he has to be. So if you're the lawyer there trying to win the motion for Jack Smith, you're sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you say that, well, we're really under his supervision, well, then he's not really a special prosecutor. If you say we're really not under his supervision, well, in that case, where would this confirmation? Where did that happen? And Judge Cannon actually spending the time to look at this is really underscoring the constitutional flaw in the claim of his authority, of his legal authority. That's what's really happening here. In questioning prosecutors about Garland's supervision, Cannon seemed to be trying to determine how much independent authority Smith has in practice. Before the judge asked the questions, Trump attorney Emil Bowe pointed out that Garland has not said that he had no coordination with Smith on the other criminal case that Smith has brought against the former president, charges alleging Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election. But wait a minute, Trump has publicly claimed without evidence that Smith is essentially a pawn of President Joe Biden. Well, they don't deny it. Smith's team, led by Pierce, sharply rebutted arguments that Smith's appointment was illegal and described Smith's role as an uncontroversial exercise of Garland's ability to organize the Justice Department as he sees fit. Pierce emphasized that Smith was in compliance with longstanding Justice Department rules and regulations regarding his appointment and his handling of the case. The exchanges marked the beginning of a 3-day stretch of intense hearings called by Cannon that will continue Monday and Tuesday. Monday's hearing will focus on another aspect of Trump's efforts to invalidate Smith's appointment, a claim that he is being improperly funded by an indefinite Justice Department budget line item. I didn't even hear about that. The judge's intense dive into an issue that has been brushed aside by most other courts. What is most other courts? One other court. He's only prosecuting in 2 courts. Most other courts has caused head scratching in the legal community, head scratching amongst the left in the legal community in D.C., and drawn renewed criticism of her handling of the sensitive case. Adding to the unusual dynamic, Cannon permitted 3 outside experts, 2 in favor of Trump's position and 1 in favor of Smith, to address the court for 30 minutes apiece, nearly unheard of in criminal matters. Cannon alarmed legal experts across the ideological spectrum in 2022 when she paused the Justice Department's investigation of Trump retention of classified documents shortly after the FBI search Mar-a-Lago. Her decision earned a sharp rebuke from a conservative panel of the 11th Circuit of Appeals, which permitted the probe to advance. The Supreme Court declined to take up Trump's appeal. After Smith charged Trump in June 2023, Cannon was randomly assigned to preside over the case. She's moved slowly on many pretrial matters, some of them routine. Yeah, very routine. There's 14 different motions. And she has indefinitely postponed the trial date. Trump's attorney spent much of the day asserting that Smith's operation should not be allowed to continue. Both maintained that allowing the special counsel to remain in place amounted to a shadow government. Cannon responded, "That sounds very ominous," and asked what Bove meant. Bove suggested that it was a risk we are running by allowing an official not confirmed by the Senate to take the actions Smith is taking. During the hearing, Cannon asked attorneys for each side, as well as the 3 outside experts she permitted to argue, their position on various federal statutes dealing with the Justice Department, as well as the lengthy history of the use of special prosecutors and attorneys. And I think this is part of what she's trying to have a hearing about. Is this really something that's normal? Let's look at different situations and why it is that this case is similar or different. That's how judges come to a determination. Even if the statutes perhaps say something, but if historically various courts have approved special prosecutors who do not conform to statutes to go through the process that way, in that case, perhaps she is going on a limb by denying Jack Smith the opportunity to prosecute. That's why you have an evidentiary hearing, Glenn. One key moment in history is the famous Supreme Court ruling that ordered then President Richard Nixon to hand over tapes to a special prosecutor investigating the Watergate burglary. Cannon wanted to know whether a portion of a ruling dealing with special prosecutor applied to Smith's appointment. Attorneys for Smith said that ruling and several others at the appeals court level were binding precedent that validated Smith's appointment. Trump's team disagreed. This is a really interesting issue. I know it's very complicated. I get that. I understand it's very complicated. I tried to make it as simple as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, what hopefully you all can take away from this is they want Smith labeled a special prosecutor because that helps maintain a good face for Biden. It's not ours. It's special prosecutor. It's independent. It's not ours. Come on, man. It's not ours. It's not mine. I didn't do this. It's about the law. It's about the law. It's about doing what's right. It's about doing what's right. So he wants to keep this wall to pretend that he's not persecuting his political adversary. But he didn't go through all the proper steps. And they picked a guy who's never been confirmed by the Senate for anything, unlike Durham. So there you go. That's my breakdown for you. Meanwhile, still in Florida here. Meanwhile, Jack Smith is looking to gag Trump. When I read this article today, I too gagged. So while he has one foot potentially out the door, he's like, I have to strip Trump of his civil liberties and his right to speak. And hopeful that somehow she's going to grant his application. Frankly, I doubt she will, but you never know. You never know. Nobody knows. Now, some of you know that I have fought on this issue. In fact, If someone shared with me a link that I didn't know was out there till today, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. That's right. It's a printed decision. There's a slip number and everything. Look at that. Got a slip number and everything. You can find it. I should share this. Put the description. You want to read the decision? Check it out. Check it out. Matter Good Logic versus Mershon is where I lost. Signed May 30th. But there you go. So now everyone knows it really happened. See, it was case number 202402457. I wasn't making that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I don't even know. Okay. I don't know how many judges signed off on this, slamming me down. Anyway, we're not going to go through my decision because we read that. But now you know I'm real. I'm a real person. Annotate this case. I can't annotate it. All right. I'm going to put it in the description here before I forget, because I may forget otherwise. Do a quick peek over here. I'll get over here. Okay. So finally, let's talk about his application to gag Trump in Florida. I saw this and I was like, nauseated. It was published by Newsweek today. Jack Smith doesn't mince words in new Aileen Cannon motion, legal analysts. Let's hear what you have to say. Amid Donald Trump's classified documents case in Florida, Department of Justice Special Prosecutor Jack Smith doesn't mince words in a new motion to Judge Aileen Cannon, legal MSNBC legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Glenn. Oh, it's Glenn Kirshner. I haven't realized. Oh my God! I should like set up I just should debate this guy left and right. Trump is due to stand trial after being indicted last June by the DOJ on 40 federal charges alleging that he illegally retained classified documents after leaving the White House in 2021 and obstructed the government's efforts to retrieve them. Trump's indictment came after they raided his estate, blah, blah, blah. In a court filing on Friday, Smith urged Cannon, a Trump appointee frequently accused of bias favoring the former president, to allow his request to have the Trump order under a gag order, as he cited a new piece of evidence. There's new evidence to support his case. Special counsel claimed that Trump supporter alleged, this is new evidence. The special counsel claimed that a Trump supporter's alleged threat to an FBI agent meant that the danger posed by the ex-president is imminent. Now, the reason that imminent is a key word is because imminence of danger is a basis to strengthen your rights. It's a key word. It's a word of art that the Supreme Court has said that if the danger is imminent, that is a precursor. It's a predicate, which would be a basis to take remedial steps, including potentially issuing a gag order. So they want to try and show the imminence, that if he says something, that the threat is very real and very imminent. Quote, statements that present a significant, imminent, and foreseeable danger to the law enforcement agents working on this case pose a significant and imminent threat to the integrity of these criminal proceedings, Smith wrote in a filing. Okay. What statements? Smith's filing cites a June 11th incident involving a Texas man who allegedly contacted and threatened an FBI agent working as an investigation of Hunter Biden, son of President Joe Biden. What? Just last week, quote, just last week, a supporter of Trump called an FBI agent associated with the Hunter Biden case and claimed that if Trump wins re-election, FBI agents will be thrown in jail. And if he does not win, the agents will be, quote, hunted down and slaughtered in their own homes, after which we're going to slaughter your whole effing family, the special counsel wrote. Quote, no court would tolerate another defendant deliberately creating such immediate risks to the safety of law enforcement, and this court should not wait for a tragic event before taking action in this case. What statement did Trump make that inspired that? What is your causal link? Oh, we have no idea. Is he on Truth Social? We don't know. Why don't we know? You're the movement here. The burden is on you. Do we know there's a causal link here that has anything to do? Is it even in this case? It's about Hunter Biden. It's about freaking Hunter Biden. What has he said anything about Hunter Biden? When did he last say something about the Hunter Biden case? Was it sometime like this happened on June 11th? Was it sometime on June 11th? Was it on June 10th? What the hell is happening here? That they don't feel in the, how do you call that imminent? Where's the imminence? What does that have to do with this case? What does that have to do with anything Trump has ever said? Where is their causal link? You know the name of the guy. Clearly, you're identifying it as a Texas man. So clearly you know who this guy is. So where's your research here to support this bogus, empty, stupid claim that Trump is responsible for this? Rather than, I don't know, MSNBC. Maybe somebody, Glenn Kirshner. You know what? We have to silence Glenn Kirshner. Glenn Kirshner is a threat because his statements are what riled up this Texas man on June 11th. We need a gag order on Glenn Kirshner because he's the one who caused this. His gaslighting irritated this Texas man enough that this Texas man started threatening FBI agents. We need to gag Glenn Kirshner now. Gag Glenn Kirshner. That's what we need to do. Gag Glenn Kirshner. He's a threat, an imminent threat. In a video posted to his YouTube channel on Saturday, Kirshner, a former assistant U.S. attorney and a frequent Trump critic, discussed Smith's motion. Quote, let me start with the new motion that was just filed by special counsel Jack Smith. And the one thing I will give him is he does not mince words. He's direct. He's blunt. He's unyielding. Of course, he's unyielding. He's unyielding. He doesn't create a causal link. You don't identify that because you're too busy gaslighting your friends. So listen, friends. You're too busy gaslighting your quote-unquote friends with stupidity and not actually doing legal analysis. Instead, you're just giving your perverted, ridiculous slant about what the law says without actually recognizing what the hell the law says. You just say, this is not what's done. This is not what's done. My 30 years as a prosecutor, I never did this. I never saw this. I don't even believe it's true. I think you're full of crap about that too. Let me start with the new motion. He doesn't mince words. He's direct. He's blunt. He's unyielding. But we have to have an honest discussion about whether forever trying to restrain, control Donald Trump with gag orders makes any sense, given what we have learned, given Donald Trump's repeated violations of those gag orders. Kirshner said, "Oh, what should you do? Throw him in a hole? Is that what you should do? Throw him in solitary confinement?" Kirshner's comments come after Smith filed a motion last week seeking a gag order days after Trump suggested that the FBI hoped to assassinate him during the August 2022 raid in his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. Kirshner's comments. And so what is wrong with that? What's wrong with his, even if it's not true, he's allowed to say whatever he wants to. Did that incite anyone? Did those statements incite anyone? Were they reasonably foreseeable, intended to incite anyone? A court filing was unsealed in May, showing briefing notes of the 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid, which said law enforcement officers of the DOJ may use deadly force when necessary. In response, a Trump campaign email was sent to supporters in late May that claimed that FBI agents were authorized to shoot Trump and itching to do the unthinkable during the raid, while the former president also claimed a series of True Social posts that the DOJ under President Joe Biden had authorized his assassination. In response, FBI issued a statement that revealed Trump's claims were a misrepresentation of the law enforcement operations order memo. I don't know if I agree with that assessment, but the FBI followed standard protocol, blah, blah, blah. And Saturday, Kirshner, it's like, look how Kirshner is quoted as, oh, he's such a great source. He's such a great source of information. Not law, but basically slanted information. On Saturday, Kirshner also questioned the effectiveness of a gag order, pointing out how Trump has previously had gag orders imposed on him that he has continuously violated, even though most of the time he had no way of knowing that he was violating them until after the fact. Quote, I appreciate the legal analysis because there's no doubt a gag order should be imposed. No doubt at all. Never happened before, but no doubt it should happen here. But what have we learned from prior gag orders? Judge Juan Merchan put gag orders in place, and Donald Trump violated them over and over and over again, he said. That's only because Judge Merchan refused to tell him what he's allowed to say and what he's not allowed to say. Amid Trump's hush money trial, in which he was convicted of 34 trial, blah, blah, blah. There's the gag orders. Meanwhile, Trump's legal team claims that Smith's proposed order is designed to restrict President Donald Trump's campaign speech as the first presidential debate approaches at the end of the month. In addition, Cannon on Friday also held a hearing on the motion and reportedly appeared skeptical of arguments made by Trump's team and prosecutors from Smith's office. Well, there you go. Clowns being clowns. Clowns being clowns. That's what we got happening here. That's what you got. U.S. Association L. Liberty for Association, Words, God, Independent Press, as required in the Constitution. I'm giving up on Lawgic. I'm giving up. This is it. You just proved it to me, and I know you're well-meaning. I don't think I like the effort. The fact that it requires this much effort just shows how forced it's being, though. You know what I'm saying? That's what's showing me that it's not right. It's not the right call. I'm giving up on Lawgic. I think Lawgic is the wrong word. It just doesn't work. It's a little long anyway. And then I think to myself, no one really knows what NAACP stands for. They keep changing the name over and over again because they changed the CP. I guess and I don't think they were sufficiently prescient to realize how people were going to interpret the letters CP to mean. Do any of you like any of these things? Because I'm not loving any of them. And I'm not. It's a hard thing. I appreciate the efforts. Legal Alliance working to guard individual and constitutional rights. Put that on letterhead. See, at a certain point, that becomes too much effort into self-promotion. That's what I'm saying. If it was a word like speech, right? So the organization was being called Speech, and then we made speech into an acronym. Then people are like, oh, okay, that's the speech organization, which you can understand what it's about. You see what I'm saying? Speech. So if there was an anagram, if there was, some sort of thing, not anagram, but if there was an acronym for speech, that probably is better, realistically, because outside of the four corners my little zone here, most people don't know what logic is, right? I got to be real about that. So while cross promotion is really good, I'm abandoning the logic. I'm abandoning logic because it's too hard. It's too forced. And I have thousands of people who have weighed in or read it, and amongst them, a certain percentage of them try weighing in. And it was sort of like a way for me to see, is there any way that maybe someone's just going to find some naturally smooth thing which would work? But the more I'm looking at it, the less likely it seems I'm going to find something like that. Which tells me that if I had something that's just the name of the organization was speech or ungag, that right away, boom, you understand what it's about, and we have that as an acronym, United, neo-Nazis. Wait, no, that's not right. That's how the left would call us. You neo-Nazis who are promoting free speech. United, I don't know, but some acronym like that. That's probably going to suit. It's probably going to suit my needs better. Threat sounds like Predator. Head cannon. Oh, imminent threat. Yeah. Life forms against. Listen to where we're at here. I have to tell people, oh yeah, I'm from Life Forms against weaponization, gamification, indoctrination, and cast. Oh God. Maybe. Just call it Joe. Lawful autonomy without gagging innocent citizens. Lawful autonomy. I did think about lawfare against weaponization. That's less lawyer. Lawfare against weaponization of government and institutional corruption. That's probably the best one so far. That's probably where I'm at right now. Instead of lawyers, because it's lawfare against weaponization of government and institutional corruption. That I might be able to get behind. Lawfare against weaponization of government and institutional corruption. Laymen and women grounded in the Constitution. See, that I kind of like. Laymen and women grounded in the Constitution. That's very it broadens my target market in a way that I'm looking for. So, yeah. Legal advisory watchdog group for independent legal advisory. See, the law is, I think it's scaring off people. I think that's going to scare people off. They're like, I don't know anything about the law. Watchdog group for independent citizens. All Americans working to eliminate corruption. You're missing the G. This is fun. That's fun. Legal acronym without any communication. That's funny. I like it. I like it. No, in case you joined late, someone asked if we're changing my name. That was pretty funny. I'm thinking about starting a movement which is dedicated towards fighting any criminal defendants when they get gagged, or maybe protecting First Amendment. I'm sort of torn between, but I'm going to broaden out to First Amendment rights in general. So, but I said I'd like to try build an acronym off of Lawgic, and that's what everyone's trying to do. That's what we're. I don't know. There's one other thing I want to share with you, and I don't see it here now. Who was it? There you go. First, a U.S. Associate Liberty for Association Words. God, oh my God. Victor, this is way too much. Yeah, I saw she denied that brief. She's going to deny mine too. She's going to deny mine too. Oh, no. See, this is sometimes we get locked into a certain school of thought. Wrongful gags. Wrongful gags of innocent citizens. This is starting to resonate with me. Leaders against wrongful gags of innocent citizens. I'm really liking that. I want to write that down. Leaders against because I like focusing on the innocence of those being gagged. I really kind of like that. See, I didn't like the word weaponized so much. I thought it was too long a word. And it's too charged a word. Because when you say weaponized, it's implying that there's another side against me, as opposed to wrongful, which is just it's the government that's against. You know what I'm saying? I think wrongful is a much better word in this context. Wrongful gags. I'm just not crazy about the leaders word. But now I'm feeling, and I'm starting to come back to Lawgic now. Initialism is more flexible than acronyms. Late night with gutty friends. Wrongness paste. First A. What's the first A? There's only one A. In Free People for Independent Press. Wrongness paste. First, Free People for Independent Press, Religion, Speech, take on government so first A. That's what you mean. You call a group first A, as in 1A, First Amendment. Free people for independent press, religion, speech, take on government. Association. Legal advocates were standing gagging by injustice and in corruption. I really like innocent citizens, because I think innocent citizens creates more sympathy. Injustice and corruption, people like, these are all charged words, where whoever's in power is assuming, the people who are against those who are in power are assuming innocence and corruption. This is something I want to be working in any administration. Legal advocates who are standing gagging by injustice and corruption. Again, I'm trying to avoid, I think, lawyer or legal or anything like that, because I think people will mistakenly think that it's a group intended exclusively for attorneys. So like that's why I think if you saw this, you would not think, most people who are not lawyers would think, oh, that's not for me. And others would think, even attorneys would basically think, I don't have time to dedicate to be a lawyer. It's not, no. That would be guilt by association right there. Why not ditch the acronym and go with good logic? That's what Texley is asking me. It's really not a bad question. I've thought about it. Good logic org. All right. I'm not sure about the word leaders, but I am kind of liking against wrongful gags of innocent citizens. There you go. You guys say I never read the chat. There I was reading. Okay. I think it's time for me to land my plane here. 3 o'clock in the morning. Constitution and God with American loyalists. See, even the word Constitution, which I happen to like the word, I'm trying to appeal to people who would not necessarily be sufficiently politically motivated to necessarily watch my show, which I assume that most people who are watching my show do have some sort of political interests. Litigants and impugned rather than innocent. So you're saying litigants against wrongful gains of impugned? Impugned is too hard. It's too hard a word. It's so hard that you misspelled it. There's a G in it. It's IMPUGNED. And yeah, and it's also litigants also is too legal based a word. Simpler is better. Simpler is better. Leaders is much better word than legal. I'm staying away from legal. I'm throwing out legal. I'm throwing out legal and lawyers. The L is not legal or lawyers. I don't want it to be legal or lawyers. I think it's a bad choice. I think legal and lawyers are a bad choice. It's alienating to too many people. Withstanding judicial gagging of citizens. Lovable army of warriors gallantly illuminating corruption. See, there you go. There you go. It's just a lovable army. It's your local lovable army. Oh. That's true. That's true. But I call myself the leader of Leaders Against Wrongful Gags of Innocent. Well, I'd say I'm not the leader. Advocacy is still attorney. Guts and I appreciate your efforts, Mr. K. All right. Don't worry, I'm not starting this group tomorrow, so I think we're good for now. Maybe Leaders Against Wrongful Gags, Injustice, and Corruption. Interesting. That was interesting. Gags, Injustice, and Corruption. All right, my brain is starting to swim a little bit. I'm going to be landing my plane right here. So it's that time of day. I do a little roundup. I search around, make sure I didn't miss any rants, which I don't think I did. I think we're good. I'm feeling pretty strong about that. Checking over on locals, 1A every day. 1A every day. That's not bad. 1A every day. That's really not bad. Legal analysis while gathering investigative conspiracies. Yeah. No, that's what I do in my show. That's not what the movement is. It's not legal analysis. This is about a movement. This is about a time and a place. Getting things done. Liberalism against wrongful gagging in court. Liberalism is too charged a word, I think. People will think I'm a liberal. I also don't like in court. League against wrongful gagging. League against wrongful gagging of innocent. League. Replace leaders with league. Oh. I see what you did there. League against wrongful gagging of innocent citizens. I think that's better. Hi, I'm from the League Against Wrongful Gags of Innocent Citizens. The wrongful gagging of innocent citizens. I'm picturing a telemarketer on the phone. Hi, I'm from the League Against Wrongful Gagging of Innocent Citizens. That I can see. I could see our telemarketer saying that. That's what I'm picturing. I'm from the League Against Wrongful Gagging of Innocent Citizens. This all sounds very simple. These are all words which sound very inclusive. It's better. This might be this is feeling like the best one we have so far. This is really feeling like the best one we have so far. I'm not going to kid you. And laypersons is that's a lawyer word. I like league. I'm liking league. Like we're all in a league together. All right. I think this is it. I think this is it. I think this is it. Michael Crandall. That was the fine tune. I think league is the right word. Loyal Americans wrestling against gagging innocent civilians. It's putting in the word against in there. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I think he's got it. I think United Network of Guarded Advocates and Guardians. Tracy going with the ungagging. Grounded Advocates and Guardians. To it. That's pretty funny. That's why it's wrongful gagging. Liberty advocates withstanding gagging of individuals. No. This is where we're at. I'm at league against wrongful gagging of innocent citizens. All right. I'm feeling enthused. Stop the gag. Don't gag. Huck Toy, give us a subscriber count. I'll give you the subscriber count. Where we at? Oh, yeah. I went backwards. I came in here at 98,954. $98,952. All right. So I only lost 2 people over the last 2 hours. Nice. While you're here, if you can like and subscribe, I'd be much obliged. Not just if you're on YouTube, but if you're over on Rumble too. Rumble people are people too. Don't let them tell you otherwise. They are. Just because they huddle in ghettos and stuff, that's that. I'm Jewish. Ghettos are cool. So, yeah. So if you can like, subscribe, share, do all that wonderful, amazing, really cool stuff, that'd be cool. That'd be nice. League against wrongful government incarceration and corruption, or leader assembling worshipers grifting in chat. I don't know what that would mean. I don't even understand. I've been trying to go. I just want everyone to get it out of the system. I've been trying to go. 98,952. No motion. No movement. I'm 48 away. 48 away from the coveted 99,000. 48 away from the coveted 99,000. For the love of God. If you're not yet subbed, for the love of God. Thank you. One of you listens. That worked. See how hard I have to work to get even one person to sub? Struggle's real, my friends. The struggle is real. I thank you all for joining me. And I keep dispensing such wonderful advice. Like, no matter what they tell you, no matter how appetizing it looks, do not eat the bugs. They're going to tell you, oh, it's good for the environment. It's good for you. It's tasty. It's delicious. Throw some ketchup on. Don't eat the bugs. Don't eat the bugs. We are a league and not a cult. That's true. We are a league. We're not at all a cult type of cult. Not at all a cult type of cult. All right. So don't eat the bugs and have a good night. I'll see you all tomorrow. Till then, take care. Goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. Godspeed. Goodlogic.locals.com.